Hello, hello, hello. Wow. So, it's been a week and a half since the last time I got to do a podcast, I believe. It's been a minute. I know that. And I've missed it, guys. I missed it. So, thank you all for tuning in and welcome, welcome. We're once again live. Let's talk Pantheon on Pantheon Radio, on Twitch. Just here to have a good time, have a good chat, talk about some of the stuff that's happened since I've been gone here for the last week and a half. I was on vacation, had a good time down in Florida, spent time with the family, enjoyed it. But I will say I miss you guys, miss sitting here talking, having the podcast. I miss doing the, YouTube video for everybody that gets to watch it on YouTube later on. I hope that we can make justice for our, absence tonight. So we'll see. But we're just going to have a good conversation. No real agenda. Talk about some of the class reveals, some of the things like when it comes to that. And, we'll mention a few things. Like, for example, I do want to mention that the treasure hunt on Pantheon Radio, let's go ahead and kick this off real quick, guys, because I got to make sure that everyone knows about this. The treasure hunt on PantheonRadio.com, still active, still going, $300 Amazon gift card on the line. So if you haven't already, I'm going to go ahead and just start you out, let you know where to go, what to click on to find out all the information you need. I need you to go to PantheonRadio.com. In the top right hand corner, you're going to see a little treasure chest. It's going to say treasure hunt on it. Click on that, and it's going to open up a page that gives you all the details you need to know of how you can get yourself involved in this $300 Amazon gift card. I don't want to say giveaway, but kind of competition or contest, if you will. So be sure to go check that out. I'll make sure that a link is in the description below on YouTube for anyone who has any thoughts or concerns around that. So if you want to, again, guys, go check that out, PantheonRadio.com. Click the treasure chest in the top right-hand corner. Get yourself, the information you need to hopefully win $300. It's still active. It's been active now for, I think, a month now. So just be aware of that. If for anybody that doesn't know about it, I try to mention it every chance I get because I think it's just a really cool idea. I think it's something that I'm very happy to see the guys of Pantheon Radio doing this and giving back to the community and trying to give some incentive for listening. They actually just redid their website, and their website looks fantastic. So, if nothing else, you can go check out the website because the website, they've done a tremendous job over the course of its existence, just updating this to look and feel and just the functionality of it. I mean, it's getting better and better every time I go and look at it. So, go check that out. Some really cool stuff there. And then, there's contributors on the Pantheon Radio website. So check out all the contributors, all the people that do podcasts, live streams, music, news on Pantheon. Tons of stuff there. The spoof commercials, I can't say enough about those. They're hilarious. They're awesome. So check those out. Give these guys a follow. I'm pretty sure, let me double check here. I think it's _ Pantheon Radio, but let me double check real quick, guys. Pantheon Radio. Yeah. So at Pantheon _radio on Twitter. Give them a follow on Twitter. Again, just support these guys. They're doing a fantastic job, and I can't be more proud and happy to be a part of it. So, more than happy to make sure that everyone's aware of the contest, the competitions they got going on, as well as just, kind of promoting what they're doing for the community as a whole. So again, Pantheon Radio, guys, go check it out. On that note, another great personnel group. I think everybody knows them. If you've seen me, then you're probably going to know who Voice of Terminus is, but they're doing another show this coming Friday, as always. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're doing the 3-shirt giveaway this Friday. I think that's what I heard. They might not know exactly, but I think that's what I heard. And I might be wrong, guys. So if I am, I apologize. But I believe they were trying to do it last Friday, and some things came up, so they had to delay it a week. And they're going to look to do it this Friday. If that's the case, it's definitely worth watching to try to get yourself a shirt, because this Welcome to the Light Paladin shirt that they got with, Lex getting the Paladin love there. It's great for one, but if they're not giving away the shirts, regardless, it's a show worth checking out. These guys are phenomenal. They do an amazing job. You got Joshua, you got Lex, and you got Yarn. I mean, they're phenomenal. Really, really fun guys to listen to. You can't say enough good things about them. So hopefully you all stop by, check those guys out. That's Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, they've done some things with the devs in the past. They continue to put out great content for everybody to listen to on a weekly basis. So just go check them out, support them, follow them on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, the whole 9 yards. But again, that's this Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then another thing I wanted to mention, so Day, you brought this up to me just a minute ago, and I saw the tweet go out, but I didn't go check the website. But I know our friends over at PantheonRoleplayers.com have updated their site here recently. Have you had a lot of time to look around the site and play around on that at all, Day?
A little bit. It looks really good.
I agree, 100%. I mean, I think the site looks it looks phenomenal. They've done a fantastic job with it. I will say that, so I've been able to, sit down and talk to Alexis sometimes, and she stopped by the stream before and just hung out with us. And, we've had some good conversations, and she's just good people to be around, and the whole crew there as well. But they are doing just a fantastic job trying to bring together kind of the role-playing community of Pantheon. So wanted to give them a shout out because they just redid the website. So if you haven't already, go check out PantheonRoleplayers.com. And if you're looking into role-playing at all within Pantheon, or you're interested in what role-playing might be within Pantheon, go check these guys out, or girls out. But regardless, go check out the website. Go, interact with them. They've got some fantastic reads out there on their forums. They've got a lot of just things they're trying to do for the community. They're getting, it looks like everything up and running pretty quickly here. Good progress on, from what I see. So very excited to keep an eye on this as it comes to light, and they really push this forward. I'm not a huge role player myself. So for me, I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I'm going to support them the best I can. But me getting involved in this, I don't even know how. And I know we had a conversation with Alexis before about it, but it's just one of those things where I'm going to go to them one day, bring them into the podcast, and have them explain to me how it actually works, because I honestly, I don't know how to role play. I don't know if you've ever done that, Day. Like, if you've ever been out role playing or done that within a game itself and really got into it. I know some people really dive into it.
I've done it in real life as a career. I've done it through pen and paper, and I've done it in video games as well.
So there you go. So we'll have you and Alexis on here to tell us all about it. So I'm excited to see where they take that. And I mean, again, I can't say enough about the website. So again, just real quick, guys, PantheonRoleplayers.com. That's another site. I will make sure that as well as the information for VOT's stream this Friday, and as well as Pantheon Radio's information, is in the description on the YouTube as we post this up. So, this will go up on YouTube after we get done with it tonight. But for now, if you're listening on Pantheon Radio or you're listening on Twitch, you can hear, I'm telling you where to go. So go check it out. And if not, you can always find the YouTube video later with the links below. And I'll make sure that everybody has links for those sites. So on that note, first and foremost, I apologize if I'm clearing my throat. I can't, it's just a reaction at this point. I got back from the beach. My sinuses have been just destroying me, and I don't know how to get my throat better, but it hurts for one. And it's just, one of those knee-jerk reactions where just trying to clear my throat all the time and stuff like that. So I will try my best to keep it down over the course of the podcast here, so everybody listening doesn't have to deal with that or listen to that. But if, that starts to get annoying, I apologize. I'll go ahead and throw that out there. In the meantime, we had a few things that happened. So the newsletter went out for one, and I didn't get a chance to go over the newsletter to really talk about it, to give any opinions on it. Something, that for me, I was really excited to see. I know Day was extremely excited to see, the information, some additional information, or at least some information at all, really. I mean, Day, on the Paladin. That's the first time we've seen anything for the most part, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, we'll get into that a little bit. I think before I want to get into the classes, one of the things that I noticed in the newsletter, and I don't know if everybody caught this, but I thought it was really, really neat, was I was looking through, and the first thing that you do is when you open the newsletter, it gives you the intro, a little highlight, and then it has a Q&A with Jimmy Lane, one of the new developers that's coming on the team, really working on some of the artistic world building pieces of the game. And one of the things, the first thing I noticed was there's this picture at the top, and this picture showed like a tree and a little, lake, and then like this gray box building over in the right and a few others on the left, and just little things here and there. But like over the top of all that, there's like this red scribbles, and it's like twice as many buildings, as well as just kind of, it looks like they've really, I don't know, kind of made this landscape, if you will, just a little bit more than it was. Like they've kind of taken it to the next level, like of what it could be. I'm not sure if that's what they're going to do with it. I'm assuming, but I just had to point it out because there was for example, they have like a little house, and it looks like there's like this little water stream coming out of the house, almost kind of like you would have a water well at the house or something like that. A cemetery there. They have windmills, they have cornfields with what looks to be little farmhouses. The lake has been expanded. They've got a bridge going across it. And on the bridge itself, it has words that say fishing bridge. So they've got this little town they've drawn in there, some little paths up there to really make it feel alive in my mind. Regardless, I just wanted to point this out because, I don't know, I think I have a lot of high hopes for things when I see maps or drawings like this. The first thing that I think of is, okay, they put in place something that worked. They went out there, they found something that worked. They put some, houses down, they put some trees down, put some water there. It looked nice first pass. And they put it together, boom. And then what I'm seeing, this is my interpretation of it, is they're looking at it now and they're going back and they're going, how can we take this to the next level? What can we do to really make this feel alive? What can we do to really just draw you into this little area here? What can we do to make this area feel more, inviting? Not just a little house here or there, but really kind of set up like you would expect it to be with, some sort of almost like a little town in the area there, or a little village or a little group of houses that are, a community. For example, what can we do to really take this up to the next level, take it up a notch, and really add some more to it, just content overall. And I know this is just a snippet. It's just a little piece of it. So don't get me wrong, this could be just me overthinking it. But I really like the idea that they're going back and they're revisiting what they've already done, just to say, let's take another look at it real quick. Let's see if, now that we've kind of let it sit maybe for a while, I guess it's when you're thinking of for example, when I write, I'll write a page, a paragraph, an essay, whatever it is. I'll write something down and then sleep on it, come back to it. And when you come back to it and read it again, all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, if I just added this, if I just changed this a little bit, if I reworded these 3 sentences, I could combine them into one that has the same impact, but it's so much, more precise and gives so much better feeling to the reader as they're going through it. I think that's kind of the same idea that I'm seeing, at least when I think of this drawing. It's, let's get something down there that works. That's not bad at all. Let's put it down there and then let's sleep on it. Let's go on to something else. Let's work on something else. And then, let's go back and do a repass of stuff we've done. And let's see if there's something we need to add, or if there's something we can change to really just, bring it to that next level or something like that. And I'm not saying that, this is what I would say going to happen for everything, but I kind of hope so. I mean, I'm not saying that, I know people are going to be like, well, that's going to slow down progress. I get it. For me, though, taking that extra second, that extra day, the extra 2 days to kind of look through this and maybe add a little additional to it, to me, that may be well worth it, if I'm thinking of it years to come. I would much rather them take an extra week to do that repass and that revamp and add that additional just little something to it that makes it special, makes it a place that's memorable in my mind when I'm exploring it, or when I'm involved in the game, when I'm in the middle of when I'm in the immersion, I'm just kind of in the zone. I'm exploring. I'm going through buildings. I'm in the town. I want this to be a town that I enjoy being in. I like the look of it. I like the feel of it. It just feels like somewhere where I'm comfortable being at. I would not want to be in one of those towns where I run into it and it's like 2 buildings and a tree and I'm like, all right, whatever, and I just move on. That's not the experience I'm looking for. I'm looking for something where I get there and I'm like, I just want to hang out here. I just like the way it looks that much. And I would love to see the entirety of the game feel like that. So I think on that first pass, you can get pretty close to that. But I'm my personal opinion, I always think it takes, at least that second pass to really kind of iron out some of the things that maybe didn't kind of come to you when you were first putting it all together. Some of those additional details, just some little tweaks of landscape to really make it flow that much better, to make it make sense and to make it feel more, alive to you. So I don't know. That's just my personal kind of opinion. And I don't know, Day, if you have an opinion on that, like when it comes to looking at maps or looking at the world itself. Like, I know passing over things, 2-3 times really can slow down the overall project or objective, but I think that it really adds that additional value that makes it to where that long-term success and that long-term feeling of enjoyment for you as a player can really settle in. That's just my take on it. Well, I mean, Dave, do you have an opinion on that at all?
I'm looking at the photo right now, and it looks to me like they put down a couple buildings because they were like, okay, we generally want some type of town or village here. We'll come back to this and flesh out like maybe the rest of the area and stuff, so we know what kind of dimensions we're working with. This is just from my point of view. And now that they've kind of done that, now they're coming back. They took a screenshot of this area and they're like, okay, what can we do here? And they kind of blueprinted out generally what they would like in this area. Whether or not that's set in stone, we don't know, because as they get in there and start making that, they may have to make some improvements here and there. But I like it. To me, because I had to go and look it up. Outdoors Pass, I guess, is like a zone outside of the major cities. So it's nice to see that there is actually going to be like small towns and villages throughout the world. And that answers at least one of my questions that I had. So I really like how it looks and shows me that they've got an idea what they want to do and stuff. Also, I want to say that if you open up that picture, there's arrows that you can click on, and the next 2 images, you can get a rough look at some of the design going into. I'm not even going to begin to say that name because I'll have to go to church, but the Elven City.
I believe it's pronounced Faithrall.
Bless you.
And again, I'm not one for pronouncing things correctly, so don't hold me, accountable if that's not how you're supposed to say it. I apologize. I will say I agree with you. I think they've done, they're doing some things that are hopefully just going to bring the game to that next, tier that we're looking for, bringing it more towards the 2018 type of game and feel and look that we all want and desire. And let me just do this, see if this works real quick. So for those that are watching on the stream, and I'm just going to do this real quick. I really don't do this, guys, and I apologize for everybody listening on Pantheon Radio, but I just wanted to give you a quick glimpse, if you will, of what I'm looking at, and hopefully, that'll be something that can help you understand. So, real quick, let me do this. Chat box, let's make you disappear for a second. All right, cool. So, for anybody that's interested, watching live or watching on YouTube later on, so what I'm looking at here in the what I'm looking at here is the image, and this is from, as you see here. So we have the newsletter, and if you pull up that image on the newsletter, this is what we're looking at here. So it's an image, and again, it's just, you see landscape, you see a few buildings here, you see a few trees, a little pond, and then you see a bunch of red scribbles more or less over the top of it all with some white text really kind of highlighting what's what. They've done a phenomenal job. They've done this in other newsletters as well. Every time we see concept art or things like that, they've always added that additional, I guess you could say, feeling to it with the text, letting us know what it is, whether it's a cemetery, mill, wheat fields, cornfields. They all added the little bit of additional detail, which I love. I would hate to see it just the red text, because then I would be like, I don't know what that means. But I like that they've added some of the actual terminology to it to say, hey, look, this is a chapel. This is a water well, like things like that, just to let you know what they're looking to do here and what that feel is. So that's what we're looking at here, or at least, for everybody that's watching on Twitch, that's what we're looking at. So anybody that, sees this on YouTube later, they can view that. Anybody listening on Pantheon Radio, I apologize, guys. I know I don't do a lot of images. I'm just trying to hopefully get to a point where I can explain it enough or in detail enough that anybody listening via Pantheon Radio can understand it. And maybe we can start to give some visual aid, if you will, for this in the future. So with that being said, yeah, you said there's some arrows here. So if we click over, we start to see some of the inner workings. This is kind of like that, I guess you could say, starting to build, kind of construct the inner city, if you will, the elven city. And they show some scale models, where they show like some people, what the actual scale of the buildings and structures will be. First and foremost, I'll just say this, they look massive. And that's one thing we saw in Thronefest as well. They were massive. It was huge. It was absolutely just, altogether, just everything seems extremely big, which is great in my opinion. I like that we're going to that size. We're able to get to that, kind of, I guess you could say mass when it comes to the game. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see in the end result how big these buildings, these structures truly are, because right now, it just in the pictures they show, they look absolutely huge. So I'll move off that. That's not what I really wanted to focus on tonight. I know that, there was a lot going on with the newsletter. There's a lot going on with the class reveals and things like that. I did want to do a quick highlight of the underwraps. And I don't know, Dave, if you had a lot of time to look at this or think about it, but I read it last week. And at first I was like, this is really good information. I'm so glad that they gave us this information. And then I started to think about it a little bit more. And I was like, well, you know what? This seems like one of those things where they might do this more consistently. And I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see this underwraps be something that happens more and more consistently. Because within it, you have things like the class design. Scrolling down here, again, you have more images, more photos of kind of what I was talking about with that landscape, the over drawings to kind of show what they're looking to do, the additional detail things they're looking to add, the new zones talked about, with Faith Roll, which again, you're talking about making that a reference zone, which we'll talk about that in just a second. You have mentions of PA3. You have more updates on the Racken, showing that that's continuing to come along and progressing. And then again, you have what I would like to see more and more often, which is just an update, an overall kind of status check. Hey, where we at? What we doing? Type deal. So very, very happy to see this. At first, it didn't quite hit me because I was so excited about the class reveals and things like that, that I looked through this. I went in here. I found out that they had a new zone. I was excited about it. I found out about the PA3 stuff coming up. So for those testers involved in that, I was like, man, that's awesome. I'm so excited to hear that that's progressing because, you know, as long as they're continuing with these pre-alphas and they're continuing to move through these, then hopefully that gets us closer to alpha, then closer to beta, then closer to release. So, you know, hearing that's progressing and coming along is so exciting. And again, I went straight to the class reveals, and that was where I've spent most of my time. Thinking about it now, I wish I would have highlighted this last week. You know, if I was here, I think this should have been one of the biggest things that I talked about, which is under wraps. So in the future, if we see more of these under wrap kind of features within the newsletter, I'll be very excited about it. I think that that's something we could probably spend a lot more time on, even though there's going to be other things within the newsletter, as we can see class reveals and such continuing to come out. I just think that they did a phenomenal job kind of keeping us up to date and explaining it. So if VR is listening, please, please, please continue to do the under wraps. I love them. I think that they're a fantastic piece to the newsletter that needs to stay and needs to be continued forever. So with that, I'm going to go over the under wraps real quick, guys, and then I'm going to get to the classes because I think we can spend 30 minutes on the classes. I know there's been a lot of people that have talked about them, but I want to give my thoughts and opinions on them. I want to get Dave's thoughts and opinions on them, especially on the Paladin. And, you know, I just want to do a quick overview on those. So give me 3 minutes. Let's go through the under wraps, and then let's take 20 minutes or so, and let's talk about the classes real quick after this. So first and foremost, class design. It looks like it's coming along simply, I guess you could say, in my mind, it's coming along very, very well because we have what we've seen the tanks revealed this last newsletter. Before that, we saw the melee DPS revealed. And from my understanding, we still have the healers to be revealed and then the caster DPS to be revealed. The caster DPS will include the enchanter. So I think between the next two reveals, we'll probably see the shaman, cleric, and druid in one reveal, and then, you know, either they'll be first or second, not sure what the order is. And then we'll have the caster DPS, meaning the summoner and wizard, with the enchanter thrown into that mix in the other reveal. So 2 more newsletters to go until we have the original 12 classes of Pantheon revealed officially, which is exciting to see, exciting to hear. A lot of great information in that. And not to mention, we then have mentions of the Bard potentially. We've kind of been getting some, you know, information around the Bard as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing later on, after the fact, hopefully we can see that Bard class come into play. I'm not so sure it's going to be in the reveals as of right now, but I'm hoping to see that comes on later. And maybe because I know there's a lot of people that are really, really excited about the Bard, maybe they do it's kind of like its own special little reveal. You know, they bring out the logo, they bring out all the information about the Bard, how the Bard's going to be played, yada, yada, yada. It's one of those things, it's one of the classes that we have more or less zero information on at this point. So I'm excited to see when the Bard comes out, but for now, you know, we'll take what we can get, and we're getting a lot. So class design going well. New zone. So Faithrall. So with Faithrall, they're going to have, this is the Elven City, and this is on the western border of King's Reach. They're going to be using this as a reference zone, which I thought was really interesting to me. I kind of assumed that Thronefast might be, you know, a more of a reference zone type area. It seems like, you know, we've seen a stream of it making to the city, and it seems the humans were kind of the focus of the game, but I'm really excited to hear that they're utilizing a different area. Maybe there's some things within it, climate or something that maybe Thornfast doesn't have that they can utilize or, you know, really have as a reference. So we have them using this as a reference city, and what that means is they're basically putting in the entire fundamental gameplay system into this city, dynamic day and nights. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of quickly go over the list here. So dynamic day and nights, time of governing events, spawn cycles, atmospheres that require effects to overcome, extreme climates that require players to acclimate. Wow, if I can speak tonight, it's going to be a good night. Themselves, acclimate is what I'm trying to say there. Sorry. Wow. And the perception system woven in there. Again, they're saying that you're gonna have the ability to be the keeper. Dispositions will be in there. You'll have crafting, harvesting, climbable surfaces, interactive objects in the environment, and then the list goes on. So, as a reference zone, it appears that this is my mind. This is where my mind goes. Once we see Faithrall revealed, I guess you could say, made available to the testers, then that means to me that we should have the fundamental of all the gameplay systems kind of in there and ready to go. Which, I don't know, for me, that's exciting. So I'm looking for that. So again, right below that, we have PA3 is on the horizon. They're talking about they've been hard at work, kind of head down, getting ready get those testers in there. And they're going to have Thronefast, Avatar's Pass, Helnor Cave, and Black Rose Keep. So they have 4 zones total, and the content is all the way up to level 40. Well, that's exciting. So PA3 sounds like it's going to be really fun for those guys. I'm excited to hopefully see some streams come out, showing some more. I know we saw BRK already, but I mean, we haven't seen Avendor's Pass for quite a while. Like 2016, I believe, was the last time we saw that in a stream. And so much has changed in the game since then. So I'm excited to see what that looks like now, in some of the streams maybe in the future here. And again, I'm looking for Faithrall to be involved in that. So the next time I see anything about pre-alpha in a newsletter and I see Faithrall involved in that discussion or in that information at all, that's going to spark my interest. So just for everybody out there listening, everyone out there that's paying attention, that's something that I'm personally looking forward to seeing. I'm not sure if you're yourself going to care or not, but to me, that's a huge stepping stone. So just be aware that, I don't think that's going to be a small feat. I think that's something that once it's ready and once they put that out there for, external testers, those testers that are in those testing phases to be a part of and to experience, that's going to encompass a lot of things. And I don't know what all's kind of in the pre-alpha 3 there besides the zones, but to me, it sounds like there might be even more that's going to be available when Faithrall is available for them to test on. I don't know. So we'll see when that comes, what that means. But that's where my mind goes. That's what I consider, and that's what I'm kind of thinking through as well. So I'm excited to see what all comes from that. I'm hopeful that we'll continue to hear information, continue to hear updates. Again, this under wraps was an amazing addition to the news article. So just for anybody out there listening that cares, that wants to know, that's where my mind goes, and that's what I got out of the under wraps. With that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of skip over to the classes. And first and foremost, I'm going to start with the Dire Lord, because that's what Day wants to talk about mostly. So no, but I'm just going to go a quick overview, guys. I'm going to do I'm not going to break these down. People have broke these down, and people read these and they interpret these in various ways, and my interpretation could be right, could be wrong. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of what I understand the classes to be and feel like, and by reading them, what I'm kind of considering for like the Dire Lord, the Paladin, and the Warrior. So each of them are tanks, and each of them seem to be able to, in my opinion, to hold their own in the tanking position based off the abilities that we see, the passive abilities, the active abilities, whatever whatever you have available to you. The one thing I know that I've seen people point out about the Dire Lord, very big concern to them, was that they cannot have full plate like the Paladin and the Warrior. They can only have the mail armor. I've seen, conversations based around Well, does that mean they won't have competition for gear? I've seen conversations around, does that mean they won't have the same amount of AC? Or they won't be able to take the hit like a warrior or paladin would? Well, I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but what I do see is that their abilities seem to benefit from something like that. So the lower, like, just right off the gate, the first thing I read was the relentless vitality. The lower your health is, the stronger your natural health regeneration becomes. An ability like that really only benefits from somebody who's kind of consistently a little bit, I don't want to say hurting a little bit, but yeah, you've got a little damage taken from you. So for the Dire Lord, my kind of thought process around the Dire Lord was, and I'm a healer, by the way, guys. So when I think of the tanks, I think of, well, how am I going to heal them? What's my objective, and where am I gonna focus on? Like, exactly what type of healing would best suit them? For example, would it be HOTS? Would it be letting them kind of stick around 60% health, not really looking to top them off, and just kind of let them take a little bit of a beating, but keep them around that 60-70% health mark at least, so that they can utilize some of that, natural health regeneration. They can, utilize some of their other abilities maybe that will benefit from that. And it'll also help as a healer on saving some of my mana if I'm allowing that health regeneration that they have as a passive to kick in and be, have more of a presence in the fight. So, as a healer, I'm thinking mana conservation, things like that. So for the Dire Lord, my biggest thing was, one, they seem very strong against magical abilities, which is cool. They seem like they might be more prone to take some more damage. So with their natural heal regeneration at lower health and other abilities that they have, they might be a type of tank that, for one, you can't have the panic button. You have to kind of live on the edge a little bit, but there may be some great benefit in that. Again, mana conservation, things like that, but very strong against magic, I guess you could say mobs. And for the most part, they seem to have a lot of abilities that made them potent, I guess you could say. It seemed like a great off tank, and potentially even a possible main tank later on down the road. I think Dave, me and you were talking about it with their ability to generate threat or hate, throughout the fight. Even more so as it kind of compounds, they generate more over time. What was it? Provoking phantoms. The longer you stay focused on the same target in combat, the more terrifying you become to them, deepening their fear and hatred of you exponentially over time. That type of ability seems to be something that might come in handy, especially towards the end of a boss fight where you're trying to burn them or something like that. You might need somebody that has a huge amount of hate built up so that they can't break that aggro. Something like that. So, Day, I know we talked about that a little bit. Any thoughts on the Dire Lord for you? I mean, anything that stood out to you that you wanted to bring up just real quick?
No, I think I like the Dire Lord the way it looks. And again, with these reveals, we only get a glimpse. Like, we don't get the full scope of all their abilities, just a little bit. But yeah, I see them being really good off tanks. I can see them being really good tanks. Couple of things in there, I got some questions about, but overall, not bad. Really like it.
Good deal. So, real quick, they are very edge oriented weapon wise, and I kind of like that. In the picture, they have this bone look to them, like the bone armor and the bone weapons and type of stuff. I really hope that they have kind of that bone look in the game. I hope that comes over into the game as well. I really like the idea or the thought of having some like bone pickaxe or something like that. That's just me. And they use for their combat resource. I know the combat resource has been something that I've been very curious about, because they've every single class so far, and I believe every single class will have a different combat resource. So they use an essence, and this is something, let's see here, that they will consistently generate as a percentage of the damage they deal. So I thought that was really interesting. It's not the damage they take or receive, it's the damage they deal that helps them generate this. So to me, that tells me that making them so that they can put out some sort of damage is beneficial to you. You're going to build up more resources to use and have more abilities to use. So, hopefully we see the Dire Lord a very, very capable and strong tank, especially in group play as well as in raids. So I'm going to move on now. So Day, I'm going to go ahead and skip over to the Warrior, and I'm going to come to the Paladin last. I know you have a lot of thoughts on the Paladin, so I want to give you like 15 minutes. So I'm going to do this real quick. And let me just say this. So I'm going to look at chat real quick because I saw something that popped up and I wanted to address this. Let's not repeat classic EQ with the tank rolls. So I'll say this. I'm not sure exactly what that comment means, but I will say this.
Like the way I interpret that, and I've had this discussion just a couple hours ago with some other guys. Like, if you played EverQuest, whenever Paladins and Shadow Knights got 2 planes of power rating, pretty much never going to happen outside of situations. Warriors were primarily the only tanks. So when it came to raiding, that was the class that was main tanking. And the way I interpret it is Warrior might be slightly better tank than the other two, but Joppa wants to make sure that all 3 of them are able to tank content and have a unique way of doing it, but not to the point where it was like in EverQuest where you just have 1 tank class for raids, the other 2 are just there, making sure each of them are able to do the job that they're supposed to do, just maybe a little bit different.
Well, and I'll put it like this. So, and I know this. I don't know how to say this any other way. I personally like class uniqueness. Does that mean that I want every single raid to only have a warrior as a main tank? No. But I will say this. When looking at the 3 classes, just the basic kind of overview of it, the idea that I get is Dire Lord out of the 3 tanks will do the most damage. Paladins out of the 3 will help with the healing the most, whether it's themselves or group. They will help with additional heals. Warriors out of the 3 will be able to absorb the most damage. So when I'm looking at the tanks, they all 3 have kind of different, just general things they bring to the fight. Does that mean that one is going to be always the better main tank or not? I don't know. What I do know is, or what I do think is and believe, is that people may have a preference to utilize a tank, for example, like the warrior, who really might give you some additional benefits with like their battle cries and things like that, their banners. They might give you some additional benefits there, but really their bread and butter is to take a hit. So you might want to utilize that and benefit from that, but you might also want to benefit from having that Dire Lord with that additional DPS that can also pull that late aggro off the mob to ensure that you don't pull aggro when you're in the burn phase. Something like that. I'm just saying, like, this is hypothetical, completely hypothetical, guys. And then you also might want to have a paladin for those situations where you need somebody that can not only take a hit, but maybe help their healers out even just a tad bit with healing, in an isolated area, because maybe there's some obstacles or some things within the encounter itself that prevent healers from being able to do as much. So they really need a paladin to help out. I think that there will be a healthy rotation, but I do think that in a common world, in my mind at least, when it comes to raiding, I would probably want to utilize the Paladin and Dire Lord in ways that I couldn't utilize the Warrior, and vice versa, just based off of what they can do overall. I like having unique abilities because that means, and one of the things I heard the comment, I think it might have been you, Day, or somebody else I was talking to, I think it was somebody else actually. They said if you don't have it to where they said the way they said it is, if you don't have it to where every tank can be the main tank, then that's when you get to the issue where you have people that are left out of raids because they're not a certain class. And I said, well, hold on. I disagree completely. I said, I think it's the vice versa, 100%. I think if you have every single tank that can be the main tank in any situation, then you have no need for certain tanks. You can just take 3 of the same tank and be completely fine. You have no benefit in taking the other tanks. So, we'll see what happens. But I think having a unique feel, a unique aspect, I think in group content, I think every single one of these tanks will have a place in group content, and 80% of the game will be group-based content. So don't get me wrong, guys. These tanks are going to be heavily utilized. When it comes to raids, I think every single one of these tanks is going to have a unique value added to the raid group. Does that mean that every single one of these tanks is going to be your primary main tank 24/7? I don't know. I think there's going to be some pros and cons to utilizing certain tanks over others when it comes to main tank. But I also, in that same note, think that things are balanced enough and there's enough benefit in each, there's enough uniqueness in each one of the classes that you're going to want to use each one of them, in their own way. So we'll just have to see how that all turns out. Again, I like that they're unique. I like that they bring different flavors, different styles to the raid. I like that they bring different abilities. They all have kind of their unique focus. I personally really enjoy that thought. I think it'll work well. And I know it's maybe not the most favorite thought with everybody because I know there's so many people that just want everything to be equal across the board. And to me, that just doesn't make sense. If everything's equal, nothing's unique. It's kind of one of those things where if everything's important, nothing's important. And to me, that's not my cup of tea. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm actually looking for each one of these classes to have their own vital, unique aspect that they bring. And whether that's the fact that they can do additional, they can be a off tank with, great additional healing, or supplemental, benefits from, damage, or they can absorb massive amounts of, AoE damage, so they can pull a bunch of, ads over to a corner and just sit there and get their face beat in. Again, guys, I'm not sure how that's going to look because we don't know anything about raiding when it comes to Pantheon at this point in time. But I will say I do like how they are unique. I do hope that they have a consistent feel to them when it comes to raids, because I know for a fact, based off what I read here, any one of these will be great when it comes to group content. Some will be better than others with certain groups though, and that's kind of where my focus is now in group content. What would it mean for these? So again, I mentioned the Dire Lord really to me appears to have a greater damage potential than the Paladin or Warrior, and they utilize that damage to generate their combat resource. They utilize that damage to activate many of their abilities and things like that. So they take and give more damage potentially. So in a group that's maybe lacking damage, a Dire Lord may be a very good fit. However, you may need the right healer and things like that to really benefit or to utilize that Dire Lord to their fullest ability. Same thing with the Paladin. Paladin may be able to help supplement some of the healing of a group, may not have the damage output that a Dire Lord does, so you may need some additional, heavy hitters when it comes to the damage department in a small group. And a Warrior, on the other hand, they may be able to do some damage, but they may have compared to a Dire Lord, their damage might be much weaker, but they may be able to take a hit much easier. So their healing that's required on a Warrior might not be quite as, intensive. But at the same note, you really might want to, bring some DPS that can pack a punch, because you've got to make up for that damage somewhere to ensure that, you're able to do the content that you want to do in a small group. That's the type of mindset and things that I'm thinking through. I'm not sure, guys. I'm not a tank expert. I'm just giving my opinion on it. Right now, I see they're very balanced in their own way, and they bring a unique aspect to the group, so much so that you could potentially have, 2 tanks, even in a small 6-man group, and still be successful, in my opinion. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that works. We'll see how that feels. That's something we haven't seen the Dire Lord in action. We haven't seen the Paladin in action. And based off the abilities that I see from the Warrior, I'm not even sure we've seen the Warrior abilities in action. I mean, I haven't heard, besides like Taunt, I haven't heard them talk about or say anything about any of the abilities that I see here. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Like, I think Will to Live was mentioned when they talked about BRK going up against the boss. So again, we'll see what that means. Warriors, tanks, combat resources, battle points, and resilience. So again, their natural toughness, magical enhancements, that have been applied, and resilience is the final layer on top of all that. They're a defensive focus in my mind. And then you have the Dire Lord, which again, kind of that offensive. You have the Paladin, which again reminds me more of a supportive tank. So that's just my take on the 3. So we'll see. With that, anything that you have on the Paladin, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you, Day, and let me give your opinion. I'm going to running out of time here, and I apologize. I kind of had to get off on a tangent there. I really like unique aspects in the game. My personal opinion. So, Day, the Paladin, your baby, your bread and butter, the thing that you love the most about any MMO is a Paladin. Give me, I know it's going to be a short, man, but give me 7 minutes or so of just what you think and what you feel about the Paladin.
Yeah, I won't go into the full details because I've already posted on the official forums under Paladin, where I've actually gone through and gave my personal thoughts and opinion and went ability by ability. Overall, I'm excited to play it. There's some abilities in there that I'm kind of about, either because I need more details or I need to actually test it to see. But overall, I like it. There's abilities like blind and stuff, or effects like blind. Kind of need more detail about the blind mechanics to really say one way or the other, but overall looks good. Couple of things that kind of like shocked me was there was no listing for a ranged weapon. That kind of disappointed me because as a tank, I would prefer to pull with a ranged weapon because they have more range than a spell or ability, because I have to actually get closer, which means that in situations where maybe I'm trying to pull a certain group and not want to pull another group, having to get closer increases the chance that I'll actually pull both groups. So I hope they will take into consideration that maybe I don't know if it's set in stone, but from what we've seen in the past, crossbows seem to be the 2 archery weapons. There's throwing ability, it looked like. So maybe if they'll decide to give us bows, maybe Dire Lord's crossbows, maybe, or even throwing some kind of ranged weapon, I would really like. The other thing that I was kind of shocked was the way I interpreted the lore was after certain events in the past, we have decided to look at new ways to fight the undeath, is what they're calling the undead. And the way I interpret that was perhaps they're looking at new weapons to use or new ways to combat them, not just in spells and abilities, because we know that divine abilities, which is kind of what paladins use as divine abilities, they work. Holy damage works. So I had hoped maybe we would branch out and find some new weapon skills, but they went with the traditional bladed weapons, edged is what I think they're called here, and blunt weapons. So I kind of hoped the one-handed side would have branched out a little bit more, but overall not bad. There was one ability in there that really I like, because in my mind, a paladin, it's not about the weapon he used. When it comes to dealing with the undead or the undead, the paladin is the weapon in my mind. It's not what he has in his hand or the shield or armor and all that. He is the weapon. And there's one ability in there, the Lightful Avenger, fits right into that mindset. And I'm actually glad that ability's in there. But overall, like it, looks good. Got some questions, need some play tests, but overall, looking forward to it.
And I'll say this. So the one thing I take away from that is, and I'm just going to kind of give you kudos because, I don't think I said it earlier when we talked about it, but one of the things I know for a fact is, you as somebody who's played Paladin for how many years now?
Oh, God. When I was, I don't know how old I was. I want to say maybe 8 or 9. I had my tonsils taken out. And my dad told me if I was a good boy, that he'd buy me a Super Nintendo. And up at that point, I had been renting a Super Nintendo on the weekend from the local mom and pop Blockbuster shop. And the one game that I loved renting was Final Fantasy II, which is Final Fantasy IV in Japan, with Cecil. And just that whole game and that story about Cecil, really, I just fell in love with it. And over the years, when I play video games, I just prefer to play a paladin. And if a game doesn't have a paladin, I might play it a little bit, but I generally don't stick around. I feel at home with a paladin. So I've been playing it since 8 years old. Just turned 36, so almost getting close to 30 years.
Nice. Well, so that's kind of what I'm getting at here. So somebody with 30 years of thoughts, if you will, and opinions on the class. You've played a variety of different paladins. The label. Okay, we'll just say that the label paladin. You played a variety of different games that have had paladins in them, and you've generated your own thoughts, your own opinions, your own emotions, your own feelings towards the paladin class. What I really wanted to point out for you, somebody who has built these feelings, emotions, and this passion up for 30 years, you were able to take this and say, you know what, it's not exactly what I thought it would be, but it looks like it's something I would like to give the opportunity to give it a try and see what it feels like. And I just want to point that out for all the people out there who are struggling when they read the class reveals and going, oh man, that's not what I wanted. It's not the same as EverQuest. That's not the same as Vanguard. That's not the same as WoW. That's not the same as Final Fantasy. That's not what I thought it was going to be. I just want to point this out, guys. Give it a chance when that opportunity comes to you, whether you're in testing or whether it happens to be at release, whenever it is. Reading these abilities and things like that, and I've seen it happen so many times already, people have such strong opinions and passion on these classes and their abilities and the armor they should have, the weapons they should use, the look they should have, the feel, all this. And it's just crazy to me that people can't stop and go, okay, it's not what I thought it was going to be, but I see some positives like you did, Day. I see some things I like, and I want to give it a try. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt and say, let me give it a try. Let me see how it feels. And I'll continue to pass up my feedback through the forums in a, kind of a I guess you could say, a more professional way so that the devs can see my feedback, and hopefully maybe they'll take some of it and find ways to implement some of my feedback, or maybe they'll say, that's just not the way we're looking to go, and they'll at least read it so that they can look at, or so they can keep in the back of their mind when developing the class for future aspects that may come down the road. There may be something that, you can benefit, or they can benefit from reading what you have, what your thoughts are, what your opinions are, and things like that. And I've seen people that do that on the forums, and then I've also seen the people in the forums that basically say, this class is trash, and I don't want to play it because it's a Dire Lord and it can't wear plate. you don't know what abilities, like you said, Dave, it's a limited snapshot of abilities. It's a limited snapshot of what's really going to come to pass, when we get into the game. All in all, I just think, guys, give it a chance. Let's pass our feedback up. Of course. I don't want anybody to think that, I'm telling them not to give feedback. Instead, I want you to think, okay, let's give feedback in a constructive way to where the criticism that we have can hopefully be useful and beneficial to the development of the game and to the thought process that the devs have. So that's just my feeling, and I give you kudos, man, because you did a phenomenal job with the post on the forums. You also, have given a lot of good feedback to others and a lot of good opinions on the Paladin, and your opinions and things I know aren't the same as everybody. Everybody has their own opinion on each class. Paladin seems to be one of those passionate classes for people that play Paladins. It seems like people that play Paladins just live and die by the class. So, it's hard, man. It's really hard to get it nailed down and perfect for everyone. It's never going to work. But I do give you a lot of respect, and I love that you were able to take it, see some of the things you did like, see some of the things you didn't like, and say, you know what, I'll give the feedback, but I'm going to wait to really pass judgment until I'm able to test it. And I'm hoping that, when that day comes and you're able to get in there and kind of give it a go, that, it'll be in a state where you can continue to give feedback for future reference, just to hopefully continue to enhance the game in the future. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
No problem.
But on that, so real quick, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close it down. We're at the hour mark. I apologize for everybody listening on Pantheon Radio. We've gone over the hour, so I know you're itching to get us off here so you can get back to your music and all the awesomeness that Pantheon Radio has to offer. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and shut down Pantheon Radio. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, I'm excited to be back. I can't thank y'all enough for just the support and encouragement you've shown to myself and the others that have been on the stream and been on the podcast. You continue to blow me away, and I hope that, we continue to give you information that's beneficial, useful, and just, fun. So we'll look to do something more, we'll say fun on Friday. So if you're around on Friday, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, 10:30 Eastern, then we are going to look to do some fun stuff this Friday on the podcast. Have a good time with it. So hopefully you all can tune in for that. And I've got some news coming up as well on Friday, and I'll go ahead and give you kind of a highlight of it. We'll give you more details as we get to Friday, but the podcast schedule will be changing here coming up shortly. I'm going to work with Pantheon Radio and the guys to get that done. We'll let you know when the new time is, the new days are, things like that. We'll let you know what the new schedule looks like, but we will have to do some slight adjustments to the schedule that's based off of my availability and some others. So hopefully, we'll actually have Muldoon joining us as well in the future. So guys, looking forward to it. But he's still around. He's getting everything sorted out, and we're still supporting him, and we miss him, but he'll be back on here. We'll have Day hopefully continue to hang out with us, because I've loved having Day here, and we'll just continue to grow the podcast, and have a good time with it. So if you have suggestions, you have feedback, you want to hear something, you want to hear opinions on something, you would like to hear us kind of dive into a certain subject or a certain aspect of the game that you haven't heard about, or again, you want to hear more about certain pieces that you have heard about in the past but not for a while, hit me up on YouTube in the comments, find me on Discord, find me on Twitter, find me wherever you can, send me a message, let me know what your question is, let me know what your concern is, and we'll see if we can get to that more so on Friday or even next week in the next coming podcast. I'd love to answer some questions and give some solid feedback to the community. So again, thank you all so much on Pantheon Radio. You all have a great night, and we will talk again on Friday. Night, guys.